Hey, welcome back to the channel, everyone. So today we're going to be diving into some exciting news from the Once Human Dev Q&A that took place at Gamescom. There were some really interesting questions answered, including one that everybody's been asking. Can we transfer servers mid-scenario? Well, we finally have a clear answer on that, so stick around to find out. I'll highlight the most important questions from the session, and as always, there's a link in the description if you want to check out the full Q&A yourself. So it starts off with, tell me about the recent launch, how's it going so far? And they state it's beyond our imagination and expectations. It's been over 1 month after the launch. We've reached 10 million downloads. Most importantly, I think the record we achieved cannot be achieved without gamer support so often. We also ranked number 5 globally in the most played games on Steam, and last week we reached number 2 in the revenue rankings, so the launch is actually really beyond our expectations. So I guess those loot crates are really paying off. They go on to say, I think you already published an update, which I'm assuming they're talking about 1.1. What's next on the Once Human roadmap? And he says, we're going to be publishing another PvP scenario, which will come in September. This one will be a refreshing gaming experience for the PvP players. And then in October, we'll have another PvE scenario, which is still in progress. But we will have new tyrants and new monsters. In the long-term pipeline, we will also go on mobile and on consoles, and we haven't published our official announcement on those yet, but they will be published very soon. Now, we know the September PvP should be out, I believe they said late November in one of the dev chats that they just had, so that's good to know. We have a little bit of information that kind of got leaked online, where it's basically going to be 4 weeks, or at least 4 phases. I'm not sure how many weeks. They want it to be short, and it will be divided into 3 different spots on the map. So one faction will choose one side, the other faction will choose the other side. This will be like where some of the basic stuff is, and then all of the good resources I'm thinking like tungsten and stuff like that will be available in the upper region, and that will be the PvP area. So if you need to get resources, you'll have to venture out. It'll be forced PvP in that section, and then that's essentially how it's going to work. Once we know more actual details about it, I will create a video, so make sure that you've subbed to the channel so that you get an update when that comes out. They go on to ask, will the game have crossplay? And then they say yes, crossplay is going to be enabled. And then they said with everything, even mobile, and they said yes, it's going to be a very big community. They go on to ask, they've been watching some of the feedback from the Once Human community. Many people would like simplified currencies as they believe they are confusing. The dev basically said, what do you mean by simplified currencies? And then he goes on to say consolidating currencies so that there are fewer and it's clearer what they're for. And then the dev said, I haven't received that feedback. I noticed that recently on the 15th of August, we launched a monetization event, and that came up with a new currency. If you're referring to that, we will modify and adjust the monetization system. But if you're referring to the current currency system, we haven't received a lot of feedback from players yet, not as I understand, so we don't have that plan yet. Now here, I think this is the wrong question. I think the feedback basically isn't that we have too many currencies, is that we have currencies in too many locations. So I believe what the community wants, and you can correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, is not a reduction in the amount of currencies, but to have all the different currency shops in one menu. Because currently you have to go to like 10 different menus in order to access the different currencies, and that can become extremely confusing. So I think if we had just one shop page, and then under the shop it had different tabs for each of the currencies, then we can go through and basically spend our currencies, and then it wouldn't be an issue if we had a bunch of different ones, as long as they were all in one place. Then they go on to ask, are you planning to expand customer support? Some users believe it's a bit lacking in the area. Are you going to hire some more people for the customer support? And then here they basically stated that yes, they do plan on doing it. They say the thing is that we only have qualified customer support for English speakers right now, and they're seeking more people over other languages like French and Spanish. So it's pretty hard for us. Actually, NetEase is responsible for publishing, so we have to request other resources for that as well. So it's kind of like in the process, but we're trying our best to fulfill the manpower of customer support. In September, we'll launch another website to collect players' feedback and suggestions as well. And that'll probably solve some players' concerns about the customer support issue. They asked, are you still working on improving performance? He says yes. That's one of the reasons we delayed the mobile plan as we promised. We wanted to stabilize and improve optimization for the PC gamers user experience. We also want to implement some technologies such as NVIDIA DLSS. After that, we will stabilize the mobile experience and then we'll launch it. So this is good. I actually did a video on the NVIDIA DLSS settings that were added to the system as well as DirectX 12. There's even some in there for Radeon, so if you're interested in having your system run a little bit better and your video card support those different things, make sure that you check out on my channel. I have a video for it, so you can go there to see how to enable the settings. But I like to see that they postponed the mobile launch because they wanted to focus on the PC gamer experience first. So that's good, knowing that PC gamers are still going to be front and center when it comes to making sure that their experience is good before they branch out and start doing other things. Next, they asked, are you open to allowing mid-season server progression transfer? Some people are saying, that the server they're on is not very populated, and if they change servers, they need to start over from scratch. What do you think about that? Now, I know that's not the real question that should have been asked, although I can see people being, wondering that. But I think the real thing here is, hey, if you have these new servers coming out, these new scenarios coming out in September, and we start something in September, are we going to be able to leave and head over to the new scenario? Or even more importantly, we have a bunch of seasons that are going to be ending soon. If we end and then we join something else, and then at the middle of October we end up getting the new PvE server, are we going to be able to leave that server and head over to the new scenario early? Say if we're in like week 3, or are we going to have to stick out the full 6 months? And this is what they say. They say when players have played a scenario or a season for 6 weeks, they will have the option to change to another scenario. But within the 6 weeks, we do not have a plan for them to transfer to other servers or scenarios. So that's key right there. So they have to start over. That's also because we want to stabilize the players in the server, because if they left in the middle, that would not be fair to other players who are playing the same scenario in the season with them, and it would also impact the server's ecosystem. The current design is that they have to finish at least 6 weeks, so after that, it can change to another scenario if they want. So what this is telling me is that if the new scenarios come out and you guys are in the mid-season, you're not going to be able to change over. So you should keep that in mind as this new PvP scenario flows out in September, and if the new PvE scenario flows out in October, what you want to do with that. So you should keep this in mind as they're rolling out the new PvP scenario in September and the new PvE scenario in October, where you are going to be when those are probably coming out, and if it's something that you want to just wait on your server until they come out so you're not stuck in a new server, or if you don't really care too much, then moving to another server, and then once it comes out, just waiting until you're 6 weeks to move over to the new version of the PvP or the PvE server. Now, you're not going to be behind. You will miss out, like other people will be playing it before you, but they will be constantly putting out new servers as the weeks go on. So even if it's 3 weeks since they originally launched it, you'll still be able to find a week 1 server. So that's not going to be a big deal. They asked, do you think there'll be more ways to get Starcom in the future? And he said, yes, there will be more. We're already working on this, either with the current season's rewards or with the events. We're trying to give more Starcom to players. So that's good. More Starcom means more builds. The next question is something else people are wondering, is if you would lower the number of channels on a server. They say that there are a bit too many, so it feels like the server is not very populated because there are too many channels, especially on PvP servers. They feel like it would be better to have 3 or 4 channels instead of 10. Now, right off the bat, they're using the wrong word, channels. I mean, I'm I've done this before. I've called it layers. What they're actually talking about is worlds. And he says, for this one, we're trying to have server monitoring system and can dynamically monitor the server's capacity. So far, we have opened a server manually, to be honest. So if we see that a server has less population, we'll stop opening more servers. And then he says, that's one of the directions. And if the server has very few people to play and they can't even start a fight, we might consider merging servers together. So that'll be a direction as well. So I think that's pretty good. You know, if the servers start to get a little too small, having the ability to merge them. Now, I'm not sure if they would just add the additional worlds to those servers so that you don't lose your housing, or if there'll be like some merge where the home server ends up keeping it, kind of like New World did, and then you just have to find a new place to call home. They said, are you going to add transmogs? And he said, that's a good question, because their monetization system is based on cosmetics. So they're certainly interested in giving players more options to change their looks for the gear and for the weapons, but I would say it's still on the way, and they're trying to see what's the best output for all of those features in the future. So do you think there will be a new full map in the future? And he said yes. As players can see right now, the map is kind of locked, and there are a lot of unexplored areas to be filled. So all of those maps will be designed, and we will have a new map in October. So yes, there will be an update on this. So, and again, we already knew about the October map. So I believe they still have some other maps too in the pipeline. I think they said before the game came out that they had 3 maps that they were currently working on. They asked, are there plans to extend your development studio to accommodate the content pipeline? And this I thought was really interesting. They said, yes, we're already expanding that. Currently we have 300 people, and I had no idea it was even that high. They said, but we're expanding our development team right now. We're looking to reach 400 and seeing if that's enough for the content production and the live issue fixes. So it does sound like they have a lot of people working on it, and that's probably why we keep getting like new content that we didn't even know until like the day it happens. And we've also seen that they're really good with hearing feedback and then putting something out right away too. So I am actually pretty excited for this. I think having 400 people working there is going to be really good for the game, and being that they're number 2 in revenue, I think that'll probably happen a lot sooner than later. So that's kind of exciting. They say, are you looking into cheats and exploits in Once Human PvP? Are you doing something to improve that? He says yes. What we are currently doing is that on a regular basis, we will post the list of everyone who has used cheats, and we've seen these lists before. And it says we're also trying to invest more in investigating those issues because we have a PvP game experience. We have zero tolerance for any action that breaks the fairness among our players. So this will be the top priority for their game. They say the community always says that Prime Wars are a bit laggy right now. Are you trying to improve that? And I know all of the PvE players are screaming right now that they want to know the answer to this. So they go on to say, yes, actually we've already done quite a profound research on Prime Wars. We've collaborated with our community to discover what kind of issue Prime Wars have. Laggy is one of the issues, so we identified the root cause and they're revamping it. So hopefully the new version of Prime Wars will come out for the players very soon. So that's really good news. Apparently they did the research, they found the root cause. They're going to be what looks like revamping the system, and then they'll have the new version of the Prime Wars out for players very soon. So that is definitely good news. Although I will say that I've been in a lot of Prime Wars because I went from PvP to PvE, and they are definitely not as laggy as what I've been told they were in the past. So it looks like whatever they're doing is working. Next, they asked, how often are you looking to add new weapons? Is it every season? They say the weapon system is absolutely something that they're trying to enrich because we want to provide different gameplay styles to the players. So we do have the weapon enrichment system, and also we're trying to adjust the current balance of the weapon system. And yes, in the future, there will be more and more weapons introduced to the game. They asked, are there new blueprints in the next season for Once Human? And they say, yes, there will be. There'll be new blueprints for the weapons and armors as well. So that's really exciting too. So with new blueprints, and new weapons obviously becomes, more builds out there for us to try. So I'm really excited to see how all that works. I can tell that the reporter here doesn't play the game, probably did a little bit of research, got some questions. However, I am thankful because some of these questions were actually really good, others not so much, but I did think that it was very important, especially understanding as we get so close to the PvE and, kind of in this limbo time between when the next scenarios are going to come over, to kind of understand if they're going to let us leave early. I know I've heard other YouTubers say yes, and I've never been able to find a definitive answer for that. And I feel like this is the definitive answer, that we will not be able to leave our current scenario until it's finished. So now we have that. We can keep that in mind when moving forward. We'll see, maybe they'll change it in the future as it gets closer, if people start to complain, because they are very good at listening to everyone. But so that's it for today's video. I hope this gave you some insight into what's coming to Once Human and answered some of the questions you've had, from new maps to crossplay to the official answer on server transfers. There's a lot to look forward to. If you want to read the full Q&A, the link's in the description. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.